So exactly what can a straight, broke, and single dude achieve without capitals, without foundings, and without friends? Well, in fact, there are several ways to achieve some amount of wealth, if not a decent amount of wealth, if you have the determination to take actions, to take massive amount of actions. Just like Uncle Grant Cardone mentioned on his book series, on his book 10x Rules. I have explained of my interpretations of such book in my previous video, and yes, and I have put some of them into practice, though I still met some setbacks, which you guys probably know. It's the lack of motivation, and maybe I'm not absolutely certain, but Uncle Grant Cardone, he certainly overlooked several key points about how to generate and maintain the motivation, the inner fire that can inspire ourselves, inspire people around us, and in turn, such inspiration can get highly transmissible to people far, far away, intercontinental, to another continent. It can transmit. So, and yes, Uncle Grant Cardone, he also mentioned how to, not how, but why success is our duty and obligation, and yes, very few, if not nobody at all, will help you with achieving and attaining success. So you must first of all neutralize that fantasy about receiving help from other people, because especially nowadays people already get super preoccupied with their own affairs, one way or another, more or less, which means we can't depend on other people, but Jesus, and ourselves. But in fact, depending on ourselves to attain success differs very little from depending on Jesus, because if you put your faith in Jesus, you have literally and utterly become parts of Him. You become the instrument or the tools or the limbs of Jesus Christ. So it makes no significant difference if you interpret the underlying theology this way. But regardless, that I shall leave that topic for further discussion, interpretation, and analysis to my next YouTube vids. So back to the main point of this video. So probably I have several audiences for my channel, for my videos, probably whose current situation quite resembled my situation here. Still, I can't consider myself a successful person, even to this point. Though I have managed to somewhat overcome, lack of motivation and depression, like quite considerably better than I used to. The way I see it, based on based on my grandma's comments on me, on my current mental state, and based on her comments on my recent behaviors, actions taken. So, considering considering the amount of time I spend with her, I perceive such judgment quite accurate. Maybe not 100% accurate, mostly accurate. So I'll take her word for it. If you find yourself in a situation where you don't feel like doing anything, maybe you can still try to use cold calls to help get back on your feet. And I know it will take some time and some effort, but I assure you, you will not be breaking your legs and arms. You will not suffer and struggle as much as you anticipated, because it only takes you a smart cell phone and probably some phone credits. If you somehow rendered yourself absolutely and utterly broke, yes, you are gonna need a few bucks to recharge your phone and ring people whom you deem potentially contactable or profitable by using your words, your thoughts, or organized into words to convince them to buy your products or services. That's why I mentioned. That's why I mentioned never start a conversation asking for help from others, especially your friends, especially your acquaintances. Because if you nowadays, pretty much everyone needs help more or less, and pretty much everyone has their own problems to deal with, to tackle, and if you ask help, if you start a conversation by asking for help, it will inevitably adds their burdens, and they will start to keep their guards up, and it's basically not a great start to forge a business relationship or partnership. I'd suggest that you offer your help first. If you don't get inquiries from clients, from or inquiries from friends, then I suggest you start the conversation by offering them free help, free of charge, no strings attached. And I know it doesn't always earn you more friends or more sales. By in so doing, it will still help you learn the ropes when it comes to dealing with people, tackling problems that emerged from relationships, from forging and maintaining relationships with humans. And you are also going to need some red pills from the Bible, apparently, to soak up the damage, the trauma that occurred due to the frustrations, the setbacks, the failures you encountered during the conversation or after the conversation. I can assure you that you will always meet some sort of resistance because people will not simply conform to what you said to them, and it occurs as a quite natural response against you know outside stimulus, thoughts, indoctrinations. Probably we can refer to how the mass, we can refer to the methods, the tactics, the techniques largely and widely employed by mass media. How they manage to convince the majority of the people to listen to them. How they manage to maintain, and how they manage to maintain such bonding, such such attractiveness or charisma. So it may not it may not be just words or the language expressions per se. Well, it may sound not as simple as it appeared. There are still some techniques for us to learn. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to give it a try at least. At least I have managed to gather a few clients by making cold calls, and never hesitate to ask them how they are doing, and never hesitate to ask about their plans, about their own future, especially when it comes to providing your professional recommendations on their career choices, on their on their study plans, on their some other sort of issues with their psychology, with their quality of life. It can come in many varieties and forms. So due to the time constraints I have here, I will not outline them one by one. I'll just give you guys a bit of key ideas and core concepts I managed to salvage based on my previous conversations using cold calls with people from all over the world, including America, including Australia, including Japan and Singapore. So yeah, what else? Yes. What if you are currently in China and you have no access to a cost-effective and affordable telecom service provider? What telecom service provider or telecom company do I recommend to you guys? Well, I have tried China Mobile. I have tried Vodafone Australia, and I have tried some other telecom service providers whose name I couldn't recall. So I shall keep trying on that project, and yes, and I plan to get in touch with the AT&T as well as T-Mobile. As you well know, they are based in America, especially AT&T. It's based in California, and apparently, based on my previous Google search, I can see that people tend to query about how to make a cost-effective and affordable international phone call from China to other countries all over the world. Apparently, it has a market. It has the potential to grow into a highly lucrative business in the nearest future, because nobody has, not completely nobody, but very few people even dare to try using cold calls to gather more leads and customers. So do take advantage of that, and do bear in mind what Uncle Grant Cardone has said about cold calls, has said about motivations and taking massive amount of actions, which includes but are not limited to making cold calls, and also get in touch within face-to-face and in person if needs be. If the situation necessitates a face-to-face encounter, then go for it. And due to my immigration status and visa restrictions, I still can't just depart from China yet. So I will still keep trying. I'll still keep trying on making as many cold calls as I can. And once I get in touch with AT&T or T-Mobile, I shall let you guys know of the outcomes regarding a cost-effective and affordable SIM card that can dial any number from China to all over the world. So stay tuned, and thank you for subscribing to my channel. And yes, stay tuned, stay blessed, stay faithful, and always keep a productive and positive attitude towards the shit that occurs in our lives, because we can still make a difference, because we can still do something about it. We can still overcome them. We can still get them smashed and rip them to shreds. So cheers, bye bye, enjoy the weekend, enjoy your day or night. I shall see you on the next video on YouTube. Bye bye, cheers.